Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud
and Dave Lauer
via phone podcasting. This is the one thing I've never wanted to do, Dave. I've always stuck my nose up at, like, you know, successful podcasts like Adam Carolla and, you know, Bill Simmons. Just these shows that have people call in and they give a fine interview. What they're saying is fine, but the audio quality drives me up the wall. And I've never, ever wanted to do that. But now we have no choice because their laptop microphone is just fucked up or something like that, right? We were going to try and Zoom, but wasn't possible.
Okay, so yeah, the speaker and the microphone on my laptop are kind of jacked up because of Rockfest last year. There was a rainstorm.
Oh, shit.
And I think, like, during Rockfest, somehow my laptop got fucked up.
Wow.
So
that's a pretty gnarly excuse, though, right? It's kind of cool.
I mean, it's not really. Like, it was just in my tent, and it rained so hard that my tent leaked. There's water
you mean
in my tent.
You mean so the band rocked so hard that it rained, right?
Yeah. Well, like, it was the night that Incubus was playing. They were really sweet. However, yeah, all my shit got wet, so then I had to throw it all in the back of my truck and sleep inside of my truck because all my shit was wet.
Did they play Drive? That's like the one song I know.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the reason I liked them is because, like, all of their songs, I knew all of them. They have a long list of popular songs. You don't even realize it until you start listening.
Yeah, I think I know more. Like, In Flames, I think, is pretty sweet. I think that's what it's called.
Pardon Me.
Yeah. While I Burst. Yeah. All right, man. So we're going to embrace this old janky technology because we have no choice, but we do want to talk about something very important. And that thing is people stepping in on our fucking territory, Dave. There's people on YouTube who are giving the love to the challenge. Things that I wanted to watch back in my day, but were never around. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my own. So now they are doing that, and I'm hating them. I'm hating them for it. I'm like, no, that's me. That's what I do. So we're going to make a top 10 list. It's going to be eliminations, but it's only going to be from Dave, hardcore himself. So,
all right. Yeah. Well, this is Vince. You were the first one to do it, but, you know, you're often imitated, never duplicated.
Yeah. I wish that quote wasn't duplicated before on the challenge.
Knight has only said that once.
Oh my god, he even knows. Okay.
All right.
Let's start off with this list.
So I have 12 different challenge eliminations. Some of them, the ranking is not like the best of all time. These are like my favorites, and they can be favorites for different reasons. You know, an awesome competition, awesome matchup, great performances, or just like weird happenings, like something strange happened or funny.
Cool.
So everything's a little bit different. So number one on my list, and this was just one of the most impressive eliminations I've ever seen, was Gauntlet 2, Derek versus Cyrus in Beach Brawl.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. It's funny because I was going to have this, I mean, just real quick before we actually go into it, but Cyrus versus Derek, I once had this idea where I was going to make a video and it was just going to discuss the best elimination of the season. And at first, Cyrus and Derek was very obvious to me. But then two others kind of came in, and then I started to think, you know what? Cyrus and Derek, that elimination is probably the most unimaginative one. It's just wrestling. Everything else that they've ever done, you know, pull this rope or wrestle a rope away, there's something there's something added to it than just wrestling. So that's about the only thing that kind of hurts it in my eyes, but it's still a great performance. Right? Yeah.
Okay. I mean, see, that's why I like it, is the fact that it's man versus man, and there's no balls or sticks to hold on to or anything. It's just it's just like a sumo wrestling match where you gotta push the other guy out of the circle.
Okay.
And the fact that Derek is, 5'8", 170 pounds or something, 5'9", 175 pounds, and Cyrus is like 235 pounds. The dude is like 6'2". He's a big dude.
Yeah,
and like
he's a big guy.
Derek just like uses his high school wrestling and just pushes him out, and
he gets low.
It was, yeah,
that's the main thing.
It was a phenomenal performance, and it was that whole season where Derek was the team captain, so he had to go into all these eliminations over and over, and he was just like adding to his resume, and it was just like this streak where he just goes in and he dominates. It was the coolest. Like, the season all boils down to Derek in the eliminations and the eliminations themselves and how awesome they were, and this is just picking one of them, but it's like the season as a whole kind of is just amazing. Because once you get to the final was terrible. It was trash.
Yeah, it really, it really hurts the rest of the season. So if you could just kind of forget that last part of the final, I was gonna just compare it to Game of Thrones. Like, that final is season 8 of Game of Thrones. We're like, no, this isn't what it was supposed to be like, and shit like that. But
yeah.
Going back to Cyrus and Derek, the other thing was, like, yeah, Derek wrestling. But what is that about? It's like about the guy who get the lowest. And Derek's a tiny guy anyways. Cyrus, not only was he the bigger man, but he was also kind of like the older man. He's always been sort of like the grandpa of the group, So he probably is like, well, maybe kind of, heard, the old hips and the bad back or whatever, trying to get that low, but he never could. Derek was so quick, he'd dive under Cyrus and then just drive him back every time. It was fucked up.
Yeah, but I mean, Cyrus is so big, he should be able to sprawl and push Derek down onto the ground. I feel like the weight and size difference is what's so impressive. But, I mean, I guess there is a case to be made that Cyrus is not the greatest competitor, but...
yeah, well...
it was still an amazing performance by Derek. And
yeah.
Who else did Derek do this? He had the same elimination against somebody else. I don't remember if it was Timmy or... Who was it?
No, I think he only had the one wrestling. I think he did the coconut things with Brad, and he did the reverse tug of war with Timmy.
Yeah, okay, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
that one was really good too.
Yeah, but the other thing though, the only thing I have left to say about Cyrus and Derek is I do remember Cyrus just getting so fucking pissed. He was just like, "Fuck her," and like I don't know, I don't remember what he was saying. Maybe he was trying to say like, hey, this is, he was just complaining, because I just think like, it was overwhelming how good Derek was. So that's great pick, Dave. Great pick. What's next?
All right. Next, from Total Madness last season, pole wrestle with Fessy versus Jordan.
Fessy versus Jordan. Fessy versus Jordan. Oh, you mean that fucking execution?
Yeah, okay. This is totally a joke. This is one of the worst eliminations ever. The fact that it even happened. They had pole wrestle with a guy with 2 arms, 2 hands, versus a guy with 2 arms and 1 hand.
Oh yeah,
It was the most lopsided elimination ever. And it made no sense.
If this is one of the 12, the only thing I would add to that is, because of it's Bananas and Wes finally working together in this unholy alliance, so they throw Jordan in against Fessy, and it's like it's pitiful to watch, but it cuts to Bananas and Wes watching, and Bananas is kind of looking kind of like sad, or like like there is a sense of like guilt, or he's maybe regret or something like that. But then you cut to Wes and he's just cold and just like watching it, like he's just watching it happen. It was great. I love that dichotomy between the two. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was their evil plan going into action.
But who would have thought that it was Bananas? Like, oh man, are you sure we should have done this, Wes? And Wes was like, shut the fuck up, watch.
I think Wes was just being honest about enjoying it because he hated Jordan, and they had gotten into those fights.
Yeah, that's true.
Jordan was taking that big salami and like waving it around.
Yeah, that's right.
Bananas was just playing to the camera. He's like, this is really messed up that I did this. I put this guy in against Fessy. I'm going to at least act like I did something wrong.
He acted more guilt-ridden than when he stole that money from Sarah.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. It's so messed up.
But we got to mention... Is this real or not? Because I will throw in again. Jordan's like, what the? I'm hurt, guys.
The fake injury.
Yeah,
like he did it when he jumped out of the plane.
I was like, do I mention that or not?
Parachuting. And then he acts like he broke. It hurts so bad. And then he just 2 minutes later, he's just like sprinting uphill. And it's like, dude, I don't think you were hurt at all.
Yeah, I think there was a sort of a play it up for the camera sort of moment there, because it kind of reminded me of what my sister did whenever she would get in trouble or something. She'd be like, ow, oh god, or like a dog lifts up their paw like like, don't yell at me, this paw is hurt, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna make it
UFC fighters that do that. Like when they lose, they immediately are just like Shane O'Malley. It's like, oh, my foot, oh. And then it comes out later, it's like, yeah, your foot wasn't even broken, dude. Like, you were fine.
Or like Macy Barber. Yeah. All those guys.
They get a little bit of an injury and they play it up. Yeah. It's just like, you know what? Just take the loss, all right, dude? You fell down. It's like, it's fine. Have some dignity.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was kind of a psycho. That was a terrible play.
I accept that one. No, I actually keep it in. Yeah.
Okay, so there's ultimately my list is just a list of every pole wrestling.
Oh no! God.
So then we have Bananas versus Mark Long in pole wrestle.
Okay. All right.
X's one. So it was technically, I think it was Bananas and Camilla and Mark Long and Robin.
Yes.
And they took turns, guys and girls, and then like at the end they flipped a coin to see who's going to go a second time. And Bananas and Mark, it blew me away because Mark is this big, the dude owns a gym. He's this big jack dude who's all pure muscle. Like lifting weights is his thing. And Bananas comes in there and he beats him, and it was Bananas. Bananas gets a lot of flack for not being that good in eliminations. This was easily, I think, Bananas' most impressive elimination, or at least top two, I would say.
Okay, I'll throw this little tidbit in, this bit of information, because Mark himself kept bringing it up throughout the season. He's like, I'm 40, I'm the old man. He would always throw out these things, like after he does something, he's like, try doing it at 40. Like, shut the fuck up, old man. So again, this could be the Cyrus kind of over the hill in terms of challenge years. Mark kind of over the hill in terms of challenge years. And then remember, we're not just counting Bananas and Mark, we're counting Robin and Camilla. Robin, need I say more?
Yeah, well, I'm ignoring that part of the elimination. That, like, I don't even remember what happened there. It was just the matchup of Bananas and Mark that was so impressive.
Okay, well,
like Mark would always say, like, yeah, try doing this when you were 40. I always took that as like he's playfully like taking a dig at himself, but also it's like a humble brag. Where he's like, yeah, I'm 40, and I still look better than all these younger guys out here.
He did look good.
He was always kind of bragging about himself and how good he was for being 40. So, I don't buy that as an excuse. Like, the dude is, you look at him, he's jacked, he's super strong, and the fact that Bananas kind of made good work of him, he just overall dominated him. Kind of made him look like a bitch. It was crazy.
The other element that was going on, and this is kind of going in before all this, is, you know, CT and DM, they won. This is the last elimination of the season, so this is huge. And Bananas and Mark, they were working together the whole time. So it was obvious for me, CT should have thrown in Ty versus Bananas, right? Mm-hmm. But DM was like, I don't want to run against Robin. She's a runner or some shit. I don't remember how it goes necessarily. But anyways, I remember Mark, though. He's like, listen, in all my years, and he's considered the godfather of the challenge. He's like, in all my years, I have somehow bullshit my way to a final without ever seeing an elimination. And that's true. The only time he never made a final is when he purposefully dropped out in Battle of the Sexes 2. And he actually made an alliance with those other three guys. He's like, just cut me off a piece, you know, the final, you know? So he literally just dipped out or whatever. So he's gone to the finals every time. And I was almost certain that he would go, but CT listened to DM and he sent in Mark against Bananas. And I was like, that's a cool storyline. I like that. I like that CT's like, oh, fuck you, Mark. Fuck history. You know what I mean? So that was cool.
That's an interesting tidbit from the season.
Oh, yeah.
See, it's so good that you know all these little details, because I forget all these things. So another pole wrestle. This isn't even on my list, but I just wanted a quick mention of Wes versus Leroy, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
Where Wes he starts off by just like spinning and jumping in the air, doing like a corkscrew, and it was just the greatest opening of a pole wrestle ever. Leroy would go on to win it, but
right.
like Wes, like pulling out all the bag, like, you know, every trick in the bag.
Oh yeah, yeah. He had to try his best. And Leroy, that was his first elimination, so he's out there to prove himself, you know.
Yeah, was that on Rivals 1? Or what was that?
X's 1.
X's 1.
Episode 2.
Okay, so next on my list.
Oh, so that's like an honorable mention? I mean, I could go on about that, but that's fine.
I mean,
honorable mention.
If you want to, you can.
Nah, honorable mention.
That was just another pole wrestle that I thought of.
Yeah, there's a lot of them here.
Yeah. Okay, so next is from The Island. So I don't even know if this qualifies as an elimination.
No, it does not, but whatever, keep going.
It does. It was a dominant performance. It was called Waterbound, and it was Evelyn versus Dan versus Kellyanne versus Johanna.
Oh, right.
And the four of them are battling to get a key, I believe.
Right? And by battling, we mean holding their breath.
Well, they go underwater and they have to hold this weight underwater. And Dan, who's a dude who was in the army, can't do shit. Like, you'd think he'd be able to, you know, take a little bit of water torture, but no, he can't.
He was an alcoholic.
He was. But, like, Evelyn just dominated. Like, even Kellyanne, who had beaten Rachel earlier in the season. Like, Kellyanne was really, she was at, like, her peak during this, and then, was it Ruins?
Yeah, she made me peak. That's for sure.
And then, Johanna, who, well, I mean, it's not impressive to beat Johanna. She was only there because, she was banging Kenny.
Politicking, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the only thing Johanna ever did. And she really thought she was going to make her way onto the raft. It was crazy, the people in Kenny's alliance, because they knew that there was only 4 spots on that boat, but somehow Kenny convinced 10 people that they were all going to be on this boat that only held 4. Like, I don't understand the morons on the island, like, all of these people. And then they're all, like, salty when they're like, oh, we're not going to be on your boat? Like, no shit.
Yeah, but they didn't, they were, like, randomly told by TJ. He was like, Kenny, you pick the teams. If you remember, like, it was really kind of, like, shifty and stuff. Like, where are these rules coming from? Why is it that Kenny gets to choose? Like, what's going on? It was really bizarre.
But it was definitely announced that they were going to have, you know, 2 boats with separate amounts of people on them. And there was I don't think he's maybe said the exact number, but you knew that the amount of people in his alliance was like 10 people. So you're like, that many people are not going to be on a boat.
Right. It's interesting pick. I do remember there was a lot. I think that's why you like it. I'm going to try and mansplain this. But I personally would have picked the other one where it's Evelyn and Ty. Not Ty. Fuck. But that one where like they were running on that bridge and they would have to jump, then they would take the block off and throw it in the water.
Was it Tyree?
Tyree and there was another guy too. She was up against.
Was Dan? I think
maybe.
I think Dan might have. I think there was like 4 people on that. Yeah, where you take off the plank and then the amount of distance you had to jump.
I thought that was very imaginative and fun. Like, I wish I could have been able to try that and shit. This thing that you chose, they just, like, hold on to a rock, drop down. It's fine. It's fine. I just...
like, nobody could do it for longer than a second and a half. They couldn't even hold their breath long enough to get to the bottom. Like, it was... I don't know if it was such a great performance by Evelyn or such a shitty performance by 3 competitors, all her opponents.
Yeah.
But it was just like an iconic moment in the season where Evelyn gets a key. Did Johnny take the key? Or...
Yeah, because when she earned it back, before he gets it to her, he pretends to drop it on the ground at her feet like a piece of shit. Fuck you, Bananas. Oh, my God.
And then the whole alliance of Kenny, Derek, and Bananas, for the next elimination, they're like, we're volunteering, we're going in. Like, leaving out some other people who wanted a chance to earn a key, so that way Bananas could get in. So it was Bananas, Kahada, and Derek able to go into an elimination, and the winner would get a key. And it was basically kind of just set up so Bananas was guaranteed to get his key back. Yeah. Just some bullshit. Salty about it.
Well, anyways, anything else about Evelyn, Dan, Kellyanne, and Johanna?
Nope.
Good.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking down the list here. There's some epic ones. Let's do something from like a more recent season.
All right.
I believe this was War of the Worlds 2. Tori versus Jenny in Hall Brawl.
Wow.
Like, this is one of the best eliminations ever. This is, I believe, Jenny's rookie year. And she's only been on 2 seasons, right? It was World of Worlds 2 and then Total Madness.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it is her. Yeah, it's her rookie. Yeah.
And she's like, Jenny is just a beast, and everyone's terrified to go against her. And then you have, Team UK and Team USA. And there's a huge alliance at the top that consists of like Kara and Pauly and Rogan and Joss, and there's who is it? Ninja, I think, was part of that alliance, and Ashley Mitchell was part of it too.
Wait a minute, did you say D at all?
No, D was part of it too.
That's right. Because I was gonna say, if you do say D, I'm probably gonna bleep it out or just cut this whole thing entirely.
All right, fair enough. So that giant alliance, their whole goal was to get rid of everyone that they hated. So they had gotten rid of Wes and Bananas and Laurel at this point, and Cara Maria and Pauly are just drunk on power at this point. And they're like, the next we got to do is get rid of Jordan and get rid of Tori, because apparently they have a fake relationship or something, whatever Cara was saying.
Whoa. Hey, can I just splice into here to say that Tori and Jordan are no longer together?
I know. It's a bummer, but it's totally deserved
wonderful
because
news.
Jordan
Wonderful.
is a bitch of a boyfriend. Tori is too good for Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that I was like, man, I do... Oh, by the way, we're recording the day of the premiere. It's going to air tonight. Yeah. Yeah. But I got excited just a little bit more because I learned that Tori was single.
Okay, so is the timing of the news that Tori and Jordan broken up? That news comes out like a week before the next season premieres, and on a season where Tori is on the season but Jordan isn't. does that mean Tori is going to hook up with someone on this season?
She always does, right? Doesn't she? Didn't her ex-boyfriend say, like, dude, all she does is cheat, man? Right?
Yeah, so she cheated. Once Derek got sent home, then she starts flirting with Jordan. Now, we don't know that anything really happened, but we kind of think it did, right?
Well, apparently it was after they got back, or after the final, and they spent time at a hotel in between flights or whatever, and they got in between, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, that could be a lie. It could have happened on that season. We don't know. But still.
It could have happened on that hill where it was just always falling apart and crumbling and shit. Like, she was like, I'll give you a quick hand job. He's like, hand? Oh, wait, yeah, right. Sorry, a little too sensitive here.
Don't have one to spare.
She's like, no, I will give you the hand job. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense.
Meanwhile, there's stray dogs just watching.
Oh, right, yeah. Anyways, Tori versus Jenny. What a fucking great elimination.
It's 2 out of 3. Tori versus Jenny. Jenny is just a beast, and she's totally jacked. They just run into each other, and Tori puts her shoulder down and just whips Jenny's head back. Like, just freaking plows into her and just kind of knocks her back. And, like, Tori just gets by her, and Jenny is just, like, dazed from the collision, and she's just holding on to her. She's just holding on to her vest. And then Tori's just kind of pulling, and then she just gets free, and then Jenny just has to run, and they both sprint, and Tori has a bit of a head start. They're both racing for the bells. They both ring the bells, and everyone's just standing there, and they're like, who won? That was like a tie. And then, like, TJ has to go look at the tapes. So, and everyone's just standing there, and they're like, they must be checking the tapes. No one's announced anything to us. We don't know what's happening. And who knows how long they took. But, you know, TJ comes back out there eventually and is like, all right, we had to look at the tapes. It was 0.2 of a second difference. The point goes to Tori. And it was just like, oh, snap. And it was huge. And so then it gets to the second round, and Tori's already up by 1. Jenny's got to get this. And then they both, like, Jenny goes to get low this time, but Tori just plows into her and just knocks her backwards onto her back. And Jenny is holding onto Tori's foot, and Tori just pulls her foot out and runs for the bell and wins it with ease. And it was just a dominating performance against Jenny, who the following season would go on to win Total Madness.
Oh, right, yeah.
Jenny dominated D. Or, sorry, you can edit that out. Delete. But, like, it was such a dominating performance by Tori.
I do admit that was cool. That was a pleasant surprise.
Next was, we've talked about this a bunch before, T-Bone, Bananas and Tyler versus CT and Adam.
Oh my gosh.
Was it Rivals 2?
1.
Rivals 1. Yeah, Rivals 1. Yeah, I mean, that's an all-time classic elimination.
Yeah, the first time ever to establish colliding into someone. You know, later it would be refined to Hall Brawl or Rampage as a mission on Rivals 2. It's been used free agents, I think. But yeah, it's been used a lot. But this was the very first time we ever saw it. And this was huge, too, because, again, this is the very last elimination to get in the final. So there was a lot of fucking pressure on everyone.
Yeah, and it was, like, everyone was just terrified of CT, because CT was just ready to freaking crush people, and, you know, he did. Was it Tyler he smashed?
He smashed them both at the same time. He hit them both. It was great.
Yeah, and then they just go flying into the wall. I loved it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had the epic finish of Adam, suddenly his body stops working and he can't crawl up the final hill. And CT's, like, trying to pull him off, like, come on, move. Because, like, Adam had screwed up and he had taken the wrong ball and taken it to the other side. I think, didn't Tyler do the same thing? So, so they had both done a screw up. And then Tyler was able to, Tyler or Bananas, whoever, gets the final ball in and Adam just kind of chokes.
Do you think, it already seems you suggested that he threw it. why do you think? Do you think it was because A, he was like, well, I can't knock out Bananas and Tyler out of the game. They're my friends. I want them to go on and win the final. Or was it like, I really don't like CT. Even though he's tried his damnedest to win me over, I'm still like, this is my final fuck you. Because Adam never comes back after this, you know?
I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think he threw it. I think it's just inherently who Adam is he's an underperforming person. Like, he kind of sucks. He can't seal the deal. He can't seal the deal in an elimination. And when he's trying to get with Jen, he can't seal the deal. Like,
no, apparently he did. I thought they did get it in at least once. No.
Yeah, I think they did once, but like,
because we're talking
Adam,
Jen
Adam
here.
wanted to marry Jen. Like, Adam was falling in love, and Jen was just like, "No, you're just like a boy toy because I'm stuck in this house. Like, this is just like a 2-week thing."
What a season Adam had. But I will say this though, I will defend him. He's not terrible in eliminations. I mean, he has lost, but you consider what went on and shit. Like, he lost to Alton in that climbing the net thing to grab the flag in Gauntlet 2. Remember that at all?
Yeah.
And the thing is that this was going to happen for the very first time, and you just like, you're at the bottom of this net, and you just got to both climb it up and get the thing. And both of them did it so quickly. Like, TJ was like, holy shit. Like, he's like, I didn't even know it could be done that fast. And they were both like this, but Alton got it like that by that much, you know? So I was always like, hey, hats off to you, Adam. I mean, like, that was a good performance.
It sounds like another example of Adam coming up short when he wins. Just that short.
And then I was going to say, well, he beat Danny in elimination in Gauntlet 3.
That's nothing to brag about. It's Danny.
I don't know. I just feel like Adam actually isn't as bad as one might think, and by one I mean you. No, I'm sure that
I don't think he's bad. I think he's good, but he's always like lets you down in those big moments. Like, you can't be trusted.
Is that like Cowboy Cerrone sort of thing? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Except Adam's not like anytime, anywhere, anyone, or whatever.
But he does get into drunken fights sometimes, like Cowboy. So.
Oh my gosh, that's true. Yeah.
All right, so I have a list of like 5 more eliminations.
Makes sense.
Okay, so this is from a season that is arguably one of the worst seasons of the challenge.
I thought you already mentioned The Island.
No, The Island's a great season. One of the worst seasons ever is Bloodlines.
Ah, okay.
However, there is one little nugget of an episode that was epic on this season. Or maybe like 2 episodes. And this elimination was called Homewrecker.
Nice.
And it was Abram's bloodline, his brother Mike, versus Thomas's bloodline, Steven.
Yeah.
So, I'll just kind of recap what happened is Abram and Mike show up onto the show as, like, mid-season replacements because somebody went home or something. I don't remember what happened. But they show up as replacements, and it's great because Cara Maria, Abram's boyfriend, has been canoodling around with Thomas, getting massages, and...
tuna sandwiches.
Yeah, and the egg sandwiches. And, like, Cara she was, like, running this game, and then all of a sudden Abe shows up, and it's just like, hey, you know, what the hell's going on here with Thomas? And so Abe knows something's up with that, and during, like, the deliberations, Abe's brother Mike just says, like, hey, I'm ready to go in. I want to prove that I need to be here. And it was, you know, it's the dumbest rookie move ever. You never throw yourself in immediately, especially when you're a mid-season replacement. Like, strategy-wise, it was super stupid by Mike, but, like, Abe gets told this, and Abe is just like, all right, fine, let's go with it. He's like, I'm going to root on my brother Mike, and he doesn't, like, shit on him for making a stupid rookie mistake, even though it really was. But, like, this elimination was just epic, because they got to smash all the bits in this room, stick it through a hole in the wall, And you just have like Thomas and Steven who are just terrified of Abram because they think Abe is going to murder them. And Mike works construction, so he's just like smashing shit with the sledgehammer, shoving it through the hole. It was so much fun. It was just like a great 20 minutes of television.
It was pretty sweet. This is when Abram is getting so hyped up, screaming at the top of his lungs, just like, flailing about, that he starts bleeding from the nose. And he takes that, he licks it, he wipes it on his face, and he fucking takes Mike's head and screams at him and shit. And he was so loud and so disorienting because they cut to the Thomas and Steven guys, and they're trying to talk strategy, and they keep stopping and just like, what the fuck is going on over there? And Abram's just like, die, and shit like that. And they're like, well, anyways, try it. Fuck, I thought that whole sequence, I'm so glad you picked that. It's so good. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's visceral. I don't know, because Abram is a psychopath.
Yeah, and it's like Abe's greatest moments on the challenge are always like on was it Cutthroat, when he's the team captain and he's just pacing the sidelines, just yelling and screaming, and he's not even part of the action. He's just like projecting out there, and he's just like, the way it controls and takes over everything is like, Abe is a psychopath.
He's easily my top 3 guys of all time, or challengers of all time, I suppose. And he's never had a boring elimination. Even this one, he's not actually participating at all, but he does in the end. It's like at basketball where they have to do the shoots, Dave.
The free throws.
And people behind are like waving shit and like screaming at him and shit, trying to make him miss. That's what he did. He turned a spectator sport. No, he's spectating, turning it into a sport. Oh, what's going on? But he definitely.
Okay, yeah, I follow.
Yeah.
It's like going into enemy territory and you're playing a road game, and you got the crowd is just making a shit ton of noise and making it so you can't concentrate. It's like,
there you go. And you know what though? It's so great. Oh no, I'll actually quiz you before you go on to the next one. Is this an original elimination? I already gave it away.
What do you mean?
Okay, so one of these guys that are on YouTube that are doing this challenge, covering them and putting them on lists and shit, he's like, okay, one of my favorite eliminations, what's this one? Abram, Mike, Steven, and Thomas. And he's like, I love this because of the originality, never been done before, and blah, 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 the genius of creating this thing. And I wanted to write in there, like, hey, dude, this thing was originally a mission in, like, Inferno 1 or some shit,
Okay. Yeah, like, I totally know that I've seen it before.
Right, yeah. I'm just saying that one particular person with his precious thousands and thousands of hits didn't know that.
I'm a little upset that somebody else, I thought I was kind of one that people would overlook just because Bloodlines is, not that great of a season.
It's true.
But unfortunately, it's the best part of that season was that episode.
Everything Abram touched on that episode was great. Like, he was the heart and soul of that season. Without him, who gave a shit, right?
Yeah, not me, because, the 4 episodes he was there for were the best. Otherwise, all I remember from that season was basically, like, Anissa and her cousin just trying to do monkey bars. And for whatever reason, the producers thought it was necessary to show, like, 8 minutes straight of Anissa's cousin unable to do monkey bars. What was that girl's name?
Oh, fuck. Chris...
It was something weird. I swear it was a weird name.
I don't know. But I liked her. I liked her way more than Anissa.
Yeah, I think didn't she hook up with Mitch or something?
Oh,
Rihanna?
shit.
Was that it?
Oh, no, it wasn't Rihanna. Well, wait, maybe it was, because I'm like, well, Rihanna's a singer with a dope ass. And
yeah, I don't know. I just, like, that's what I remember. It's just shitty parts of the season where it's just like, okay, why are we even watching this? This is horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to something else. How about... Okay, this is a little bit like Bananas versus Mark Long.
Okay.
This is Darrell versus Zach on Invasion of the Champions. And they're doing pole wrestle, Darrell versus Zach.
Whoa, okay.
You remember this?
A little bit. I do know that immediately I didn't question who was going to win because Zach looked scared. He looked like he almost already lost this. You know what I mean? And Darrell was calm, collected. He hasn't been on the show for years, but as soon as he stepped on the show again, it's like, holy shit, Darrell's back. Holy fuck. You know? Like, it was a major thing. And for Zach having no choice but to go against him in anything physical, I thought Zach would be, like, maybe overconfident or at least confident, but he wasn't. He was very quiet about it, you know? Maybe he's like, I've never actually spoken to a black man before, but that can't possibly be right. He's been on a show with Preston. Has he ever talked to Preston? Anyways.
I don't know what's happening. So this was a fantastic elimination. However, production did their best to sabotage it. Because when you watch it, the first thing they do is they cut to, other cast members kind of narrating it. So what do? The first person to narrate it is Ashley Mitchell. And she's just like, this is like two hunky guys, and they're just going after it. And it's just like, the only thing that would make it better was if their shirts were off. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, shut up, Ashley. Like, you're not bringing anything to this elimination. Like, this is an epic matchup between Darrell and Zach. Okay. Like, and to hear Ashley M talking over it is horrible. And then they cut to Nicole, the peanut butter eating firefighter, Nicole, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, I can see Jenna over there, and she's crying."
Not a firefighter, a cop. She's a cop.
She's a cop. Oh, I thought she was a firefighter.
Nah, cops, they don't like firefighters.
Oh. So Nicole is just talking about Jenna over there crying and like nervous because Zach might be. Yeah. And then, meanwhile, we see Darrell is just like, okay, I'm gonna tire Zach out. I'm gonna get on top of him, and the second I think he's resting, I'm just gonna rip that away from him. Yeah. And that's what he did. And he wins the first round. So then they go up for the second round, and then they cut to Shane, and Shane is like, oh, these two sexy boys going at it. The only thing that would make it better was if they were covered in oil. And I'm just like, what in the hell? Like, what? How are these the interviews that they're putting over this matchup? And it's just mind-boggling because it's such a good matchup, and they somehow frame it in a way that Darrell and Zach need to be covered in baby oil to make it interesting.
Well, there was a time where you were... I've never really been this way about the show, but I feel that way about other shows, other reality shows, where producers are feeding lines to the cast and shit like that. I don't ever think that way, but I know that you've always been like, they fucking,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they even show it on TV sometimes, on like the reunion shows, or like the shit they should have shown. They'll show stuff where you can hear the producer talking to the person. And they'll just say, like, straight up, like, hey, what did you think about this? Or, hey. And, you can tell that they're feeding, like, Jenna lines to say because Jenna doesn't have many original thoughts.
Okay, so I guess what we're getting at is the producers are like, man, we gotta sex this fucking thing up. Like, talk about how hot Darrell and Zach are.
When it should have been, the storyline should have been, like, these two great competitors. Talk about, like, Darrell's awesome record, like, just, a montage of Zach lifting weights and, like, Nia drinking his sweat or something.
Oh, I remember that.
Like, really amp these up too often.
Well, he picks up his mug and is about to take a drink of his own beverage. Oh, gross.
It was great. That was quality television. Unscripted.
Uh,
unfinished. This raw reality.
was it? Do you remember any like? Do you have it round by round? Right, Darrell won both rounds, I think, and it was
Yeah. It was the first round was fairly long, where Darrell was waiting for Zach to gas himself out. Second round was, I don't know, it seemed like maybe 8 seconds long of footage is what we saw. It was super fast. So it might have been a little bit longer, but it was just like that. Yeah. Darrell just dominated.
And
made Zach look like a bitch. You
know? The other thing I would throw in just for Darrell and Zach is that I remember before this, TJ was like, "Hey, why are you doing this for? You know, what are you fighting for, or whatever?" And Zach is like, "I don't know, respect or some shit. I don't remember." But Darrell's like, "My family needs a boat," or something like that. Just something like that. I was like, I could use a boat. It was great. I loved it so much.
Pay for my kids' college now.
Yeah.
Okay, so another shit. I think I have another pole wrestle on here.
Of course.
It's Vendetta's Derek versus Joss.
Oh my gosh.
Some say it's the greatest elimination ever because it went for an hour, 2 hours. I don't know. It went on forever.
Well, I mean, I think I agree with a lot of the reasons why people put it so highly, but I also agree with why other people are like, because Derek was just a mercenary. He was just brought in for that particular elimination, which you could throw that back at the whole CT and Bananas thing. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I left that off, because I was like, that's a mercenary thing.
Yeah? Well, this is a mercenary thing.
But like this was like super epic and long. And I agree. The mercenary thing, that twist sucks. Because I don't even remember who it was. I think it was Brittany Thornton. I think she had to go against Laurel or something. And then it was just like she had no chance. Or whoever it was who had to face Laurel, like, sorry. I think it was Brittany, because I think Brittany had just gotten back in the house from like redemption or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, yay, she made it back. And then she immediately has to face Laurel in an elimination. And it was like, oh, you're going back. And it was just like, wow, this is super unfair. So the fact that Joss is going against Derek is not really fair because Derek isn't part of the cast there.
Yes.
And the reason that Joss ended up losing was the fact that he thought he had stepped out of bounds, but he didn't. So he let go of it, and Derek snatched it and ran it to his little hook that he had to hook it on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But it was this epic battle that just went on forever, and it was just a great elimination. 2 competitors going at it.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I just remember Derek, after a while, it's like, is that all you got? Come on, big man. And like slowly but surely, Joss is getting way more, not just tired, but mentally, just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, who is this little guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, like mentally, like going against Derek is just the worst thing ever. Yeah, so like I think this transitions to the next elimination was Derek versus Bananas. Was that Invasion of the Champions? I don't remember. What season was that?
I think that's Dirty 30.
Dirty 30, okay. This is where they had to run on that wheel on the top of it, which had a chain attached to it. And you'd have to like keep going in a circle, because once you fell off it, you'd have to run back around, hop back on it, and try and run on it on top of this wheel, getting your chain to reel in, and the first one to do it. And it was basically just like a test of endurance and who could do this longer. And Bananas eventually kind of just gets dizzy, and it's neck and neck at first. It's super close. Bananas kind of gets worn down and gasses out a little bit and kind of gets dizzy.
I will say, the elimination that they had to do, it didn't mention anything about jumping up and running on the spool. They just said, once you roll the spool, it'll go as far as you then you got to do a lap, then roll the spool again. But it was Bananas who was like, he just jumped on top and started running on top of it. And I was like, oh yeah. Bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Derek just saw him. He's like, okay. And, Derek is just he's just a physically superior player, like probably one of the best, you know, and he's able to just do the spool thing better than Bananas, even though it was his idea, you know.
Yeah. So was it Bananas' idea, or did production kind of be like, hey, "This is what you need to
You
do"?
will not.
I would not doubt it.
I don't think producers. I think they're involved, but not that directly. I think they're involved in other shit. I think they're involved in like kind of looking the other way to let bullshit happen, you know. But I don't think they feed lines.
We have, this is from War of the Worlds 2, Jordan versus Josh. Jordan versus Josh, end of the rope. So they're both standing on a platform, and it's like tug of war, basically, and they're on a platform, right?
Yes. Is this your last pick? Is this number one?
This might be. I'm trying to look through the list. I have a couple more listed.
Okay.
I have like 3 more listed, but none of them are really even that good. Well, I have 4 more listed. Like, one of them's good, 3 of them are kind of trash.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep track because we're on number 12 right now. So I was like, oh, he did say 12, but then he did throw out Fessy versus Jordan as a joke. So maybe that's where the other.
Yeah, Fessy and Jordan was a joke. Wes and Leroy was just an honorable mention.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jordan and Josh. Let's get into that. That's basically. Oh no, you know what? Did you explain how it went down already? You explained what's supposed to happen, right? Like polling.
I mean, it was a tug of war, and I don't even remember the details of it, other than it was epic. I just remember, you have Josh, who is way bigger than Jordan. He's got a size advantage. It should help him.
And he has 2 hands compared to his one.
And he has 2 hands to pull instead of 1. But somehow, like 2 hands versus 1 hand, like Jordan is just able to kind of watch Josh's movements, and he's able to kind of bait him a little bit, and give him a little bit of slack, and then make him lose his balance. One
great detail about this, and it pisses me off because this happens every once in a great while, and I don't know why I don't just make a video about all the bullshit that happens sometimes, but this is a situation where I remember I watched it a second time, and TJ's like, okay, here's Josh on his left, and here's Jordan on his right. And he talks to Josh when he's explaining. He looks at Josh. He's like, so you can pull them off their little crate, and he turns over to Jordan, or you can make them fall off by counterbalancing or whatever. Like, he basically told him how to do it. He went from this to this, told Josh, try and rip him off, told Jordan, try to make him fall off on his own strength or whatever, And it fucking pisses me off so much because TJ's done this in weird ways to affect the eliminations. Fucking Leroy and Ty, he did that and shit like that. Whatever. Go on and on about it, but yeah.
So, okay, I have a question. I don't remember TJ saying that, but did TJ actually say it?
Yes.
Were we looking at his face?
Yes.
Or was it dubbed in?
Yes. No, that's why it's so significant.
Okay.
In frame, he looks at Josh, says, try and pull him off, or in the same frame, you can get him to fall off. That it's all framed. You can see that's why I'm like, fuck you, TJ. Like, there's little subtleties that you're doing. Don't do that.
I feel like Jordan would have done it anyways. Jordan is super crafty.
Then why tell him? Why That's like when people say, "Oh, John Jones didn't need steroids to beat DC that second time because blah blah blah. He did something technical that anyone could have done." Well, why take the PEDs then, motherfucker? You know what I mean? Like, why do it? Wow. Anyways.
I mean, you're definitely right about DC and John Jones.
And I'm right about this. Why try and kind of like really pointedly told Jordan or try and get him to throw himself off?
Well, I mean, that's what the producers always do. They always try and influence everything that happens.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's unfortunate. They shouldn't be doing that. But I do maintain that I think Jordan would have done it anyways. John Jones, however, I'm not totally sure that he would have been able to do
it. But okay. Yeah, this was a spanking. Like, this made Josh look so bad, Like, this This was almost like Derek versus Cyrus, you know, where Cyrus was like, God damn it, you're making me look horrible.
Yeah, he definitely wrecked him. And, like, Josh is not, like, a super great competitor. So it's not like he beat, like, the best person ever.
Right.
But it was, I don't know. It just made Jordan look great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of a deep cut. And I feel like this is one of my favorite eliminations from this season.
All right.
Free agents, Cara Maria versus Naya in Looper. This is where they both have the harnesses on, and then they have to, like, get to the bell or the pole, and it's basically they're in sand, and they're, like, digging their feet into the sand, and they have to try and pull the other person to ring their bell.
How long did it take? Like, almost 2 hours? Something insane like that.
Yeah. Like, they were in there, and they're both just dug into the sand. They're both just, like, in so much pain and agony, and it's just a stalemate. And then Cara Maria ends up winning it. I thought it was a bit of an upset. I expected Naya to win. But it was just a great matchup. It really, like, free agents really made Cara Maria look like it was the best version of Cara Maria.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite of hers, because she's either really kind of, like, faltering and, like, you feel bad for her because everyone's like, oh, Cara, like, what the fuck, you know? And then she goes from that to, like, oh, I'm superior but, like, annoying, and, you know, like, you got to deal with my bullshit and shit. But Free Agents was right in the middle there, where I was like, oh, she's funny, she's performing well, she has this relationship with Laurel, she gets her hand hurt, like, she has this great storyline throughout.
Yeah, she had that sympathy of her hurting her hand in the Balls In, I think?
Yeah, against Jessica.
That's what Jessica, yeah. So she breaks her hand, and then she decides to stay, but then they make her try and climb a wall, which is like the same thing that Jordan had to try and do with one hand. It's another, like, silly elimination where it wasn't that fair.
Well, going back to Cara and Naya, now, that took forever, and that wouldn't be the first time they do that same elimination. But the next time, they have clear, like, pads on the harness, so it's not cutting into them, because Cara, like, you would later see her, it's all bruised and fucked up where all those harnesses were, or, so they add pads to the next one, and not only do they do that, but they add, like, a rope, so you could grab the rope. It's closer to the bell, and you just pull yourself.
Was that the Teresa versus Camilla?
Yes.
Because they also did it that season, yeah. And Teresa beat Camilla somehow.
Well, that's because Camilla lost her, like, grandpa or grandma or something like that, and she was like, she was like crying and shit. It's horrible.
Phoned it in.
Yeah.
Quitter.
But yeah, it's good. I would put in Cara versus Jessica personally when she did hurt her hand and stuff, but I'm not you, Dave. And I never will be.
I mean, that's also a good honorable mention. So also, I have another Cara Maria elimination.
All right.
This is from Arrivals 2, Cara Maria and Cook versus Anastasia and Jess. Now, this is not like a great elimination, but it was entertaining, to say the least.
Okay. Yeah, they hang upside down, which is awkward. And then they have these little saws, and they have to, like, cut this rope, or cut their opponent's rope, and then they fall in the water, right? But that's about it. I don't remember too much about it. I didn't really... This was before I knew how wonderful Jessica was, and I was just like, get her the fuck out. You gotta take your fat ass out of here. But yeah.
I believe this is the one where, like, Anastasia was, like, the anorexic girl that CT was banging to make Diem jealous, I think. And then, like, she has
we don't know if she's anorexic, alright? Come
on. It seems like it. Well, she needed to be put up in the harness, and she's like, oh, I'm too lightheaded, I don't feel good, I'm just dizzy. And then TJ makes the line of, like, well, maybe you should, eat something other than just, smoke cigarettes and not eat.
Right. Yeah, he said he He made a crack about her weight, which is just so cool, TJ. The other thing is, though, I heard is that the other people participating, they were just like, Anastasia, drink this energy drink. Like, just pound it and go out there and stuff. So that kind of was fucking with her. And wasn't this the moment where, like, Cook had to piss in the water? Or...
Yeah, because all the medics are trying to tend to Anastasia.
Oh.
So Cook and Cara Marie are just hanging in this harness above the water, and they're just waiting. And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. We've been, they've probably been up there for 45 minutes, and they're super nervous.
And Cara Maria's just like, fucking, it's like Dumb and Dumber. He's like, just go, man.
She's cute.
That's kind of warm.
And it was great, because when they have to, like, cut the rope, they end up sending their opponents into the pee water.
No.
Like the ultimate humiliation. It was
it wasn't. No, they were in two. They had two separate pools. All right, let's not go insane here.
It was a community pool.
I wish it should have been all the same water, because that was pretty gross. I just remember it's like, well, now you two really don't want to lose because you're gonna fucking fall into that water, man. And yeah, it is interesting because everyone just kind of turned on Anastasia. They were like, get out of here, Bird, or whatever. And that's actually what her nickname was, Bird. Holy shit. Remember that?
It was?
Yeah.
That's great.
Next.
Okay, I have like two more, and both of them are quite lame.
And this last one wasn't?
Okay, so so when I was first doing the list, I wanted to just have like memorable eliminations and going by like cast members that are very well known and recognizable. So I looked at Diem and I was like, what is a memorable one for Diem? Like, what is her best performance? And it was from Duel 2, Diem versus Jen.
Nice.
Pushover. Because when I was watching this, I was just like, oh, Jen is going to win this for sure. And they're just on like a wooden platform. It's not even high off the ground or anything. It's just like elevated 6 inches off the ground. And they both have a pad, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's probably like 2 feet by 2 feet or something.
Kind of like a padded shield, almost? Yeah,
it was like American Gladiators. Just push the other person off. They just run into each other and try and push the other person off the platform. And it seems like Jen has the body type for it a little bit more. She's got thicker thighs.
Oh, yeah.
Lower center of gravity. Diem is kind of just a skinny, scrawny girl. I thought that Jen would be able to just push her right over. But Diem, she was awesome, and she just kind of trounced Jen and made Jen look terrible.
Extra points for the word trounce. And I will add that Jen actually was the queen of this little thing. She played it like 2 or 3 times before this, and she defeated everybody. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, fucking Jen's going to take this, and I think at the time I didn't really know DM too well, so I was just like, Jen's going to fucking win this. But yeah, it was a shock.
And wouldn't they like draw a card to see what they were going to do? And then when they saw it, it was just like, oh no. Like, I think Diem thought she was going to lose because it was the one thing she didn't want to do against her.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But it was pretty good. I don't mind that pick.
But the thing was, I think Diem lost in this same elimination against Brittany right before the final.
Ooh. Oh.
I think it was the same elimination. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, and there was a conspiracy about like how, or I think it was just a coincidence, but no man ever played that game. It was just women.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The guys always had like the rock wall or whatever.
No, I mean like no women played it though.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. No women did play that.
A woman climbing a wall? Get out of here.
So, like, the worst, this is just on a tangent here, from Duel 2, when they had, like, the rock climbing pegs on the pole in the center of the arena, and you could knock the other opponent who was trying to climb that same pole.
Yeah.
When they had Derek versus Big Easy, where neither guy could climb the damn thing, And it just like, they're both just standing there staring at each other at one point like, oh, I can't do it. It was just the most pathetic display of sportsmanship or competition I've ever seen. It was horrible.
Yeah. That's what's worse, that between Big Easy and Derek, or the flaming ball soccer thing between Nelson and Corey?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, visually it looks better with the fire and stuff. So.
And I think it was, at least with Corey and Nelson, you had the entire cast there to like laugh and ridicule them because it was so early in the season.
I personally think it wasn't their fault. I mean, it didn't help that they both don't really have soccer experience or whatever. But I think that the ball that they chose to ignite was kind of it wasn't a soccer ball, that's for sure. It was almost like a foam ball soaked in the kerosene or something. I don't know. It was just awkward. It wouldn't move right.
That is true, because they can't use actual plastic or, that polyurethane or whatever kind of polymer they use to make an actual ball. Yeah. Because it would just melt with the fire.
Yeah, because I just remember them kicking it, and it would go kind of slow. It wasn't at all what you think it would look like. And I think that kind of threw them off as well. So, I don't know.
And it's weird that they did that on, like, what season was it? Was that, like, Final Reckoning or Vendettas, or I don't
it was remember. One of those it was either it was either Vendettas or Dirty 30. Not sure.
Okay. But the thing that makes no sense is, you think they would use that elimination on like War of the Worlds once they get a bunch of British people on the show? Because people from the UK, they play soccer at least.
Oh, here, that's
they're
right.
Like, no, like Nelson and Corey have never played soccer. Like, most Americans don't play soccer. Like, if you give them, like, a football and have them, like, have to throw the ball at each other, okay. Like, that would make more sense.
I was going to say, you might as well throw a crazy sport that they've never done. You know what I mean? Like, the British, they don't really wrestle too much. So that would be something where they're like, what is this?
The British people don't wrestle? I didn't know this. They only kickbox?
Well, I know Michael Bisping, he's like, we don't really wrestle too much here in England. It's not proper. Or something like that. I don't know. He said something like that.
Yeah. I do remember Bisping saying something like that. Yeah, they just box, primarily. Yeah. Box and soccer. Maybe a little cricket and snooker.
And a little bit of Brexit. All right, is that the final one?
I have one more, but it's not even that good.
This better deliver, Dave.
It was from X's 2, and it was Jordan versus Zach in Hammer at Home.
Again, you just ignore the female counterparts.
Sarah and John A. All right. I have that written down, but...
All right. No, I get what you're saying, because the real thing was like Thor with his hammer versus Jordan with one hand.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, it's gotta be Zach.
Zach to win.
Yeah.
And he somehow, he manages to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Jordan, turns out he worked construction, right? Isn't that what he said? He's like, I've thrown hammers before or whatever, and Zach hasn't, so he doesn't even use the proper technique. He's kind of up close. What was it called? Choking up on it, maybe?
Yeah, he was choking up like a 8-year-old playing Little League Pee Wee baseball.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jordan is taking it by the far end and just this giant swing. In one swing, it's like goes like 6 inches or something like that.
Yeah, because if you're properly swinging it, you're holding onto it with one hand only, which Jordan has, is just one hand, and then you're using your other hand just to kind of guide it and aim it. And that's all you're doing. And so you're kind of just using the weight of it and swinging your arms. And Jordan did it properly, and Zach, he had no idea what he was doing. It was a great performance by Jordan. It made Zach kind of look like a bitch. It was a shocker to me, because, that was, the first season I think I ever watched was X's 2.
Yeah. Whoa, shit, yeah.
And I just remember thinking, like, how in the hell could Zach lose to a guy with one hand? Like, this makes no sense to me.
I remember, actually, for a while, yeah, that was your first season, and that was the first we started podcasting, and we started podcasting because you replaced DJ Matty Nice, like, maybe, I don't know how many episodes in. So you just started watching it, and it was funny because eventually I was like, man, isn't that impressive? All with one hand. You're like, what do you mean? I'm like, Jordan. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, he's only got one hand, and you're like, what? And you saw it. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, because he doesn't really bring it up, and if there's any, like, he could pretty much do anything, asked of him. So yeah,
I feel like the episode or the couple episodes I had watched, they didn't bring it up at all. But now that I watch every season with Jordan, it's literally the only thing they bring up. It's always just like he's just sneaking it into the view. He's like, "Oh, look at my small hand." It's just like, dude, it's like, I don't know. He's like, "I'm doing this for people who are different, and I wanna be a good role model for people who are different." And then meanwhile, he's gonna start slurring against mentally handicapped people, and it's like, Jordan, you're a horrible person.
Yeah, I mean, what he's able to do physically is impressive for sure. But yeah, in terms of personality and all that other shit, I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, like how he treats Tori, like how he's yelling at her during elimination. Yeah. He is just the worst. Jordan is the worst. He's a great competitor, but personality-wise, he's the worst.
Remember when after he lost against Fessy, and he's like, oh God, I was hurt, and then he starts crying. He's like, if anyone's ever told you different, if you're handicapped, believe in yourself or whatever. But then he was also saying, like, you know what, I didn't want to come on this show. It was all Tori's idea. I have nothing to prove. And he was just saying all this shit, and it's like, dude, come on. Like, what are you crying? Are you trying to say, oh, I didn't want to be here? Like, what is it? He was just, are you hurt? Like, what is it? He keeps on throwing all this bullshit, and I'm so glad he's not in this new season, and I'm so glad that Tori and him are apart. It's great.
Yeah.
That's the end of the podcast. This is Vincent Cloud
and Hardcore Dave,
and this is the Battle of Challenges podcast.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Oh my God, thank God.